time about when I was 14 years old and I walked in on my mom and my boyfriend at that time having intercourse. So I was 14, me and this boy started dating August that year, it was 2016. In that relationship, him and my mom were closer than what would be normal, for sure. One time I was at cheer practice and I needed a ride home and neither one of them were answering their phones, so I just got a ride home from somebody who, like one of the other cheerleaders, and I walked into my house and by the way, we are parked, we're just waiting to go leave the house to go pick up my other daughter. Heather on the couch, so was him, he was on the couch, we're gonna call him Bob. Bob was also on the couch. A blanket over her like legs, looked like massaging her feet, but he did the same thing to me. I fell asleep one time and I woke up to him inappropriately touching me. 14 years old. That is my mother and that is my boyfriend at the time. Like, I'm 14 years old and looking back now, like, I should have seen those red flags. I left with my grandpa to go downtown to get my phone fixed, and I was on my grandparents' plan. And we lived in a small town, but this place, the floral shop also had a phone company in the place. Anyways, so I go with my grandpa. She's in the shower or the bath, and Bob was in the living room with my other siblings. I left and it didn't take long at all. I come back and I was like, asked my sister, I was like, where's mom? Where's Bob? Oh, they're in there. Okay, open the door. I lost my mind. I went and I pulled the covers off and they're all like panicking and like trying to like cover back up and like whatever else. Like, my mother did not say 2 words. I was like, what the fuck? That's my words. I was like, what the fuck, what is going on? So what are you doing? And I just ran. After I saw that, she was completely naked, no clothes on at all. He had his pants down. They were laying on their sides, like her butt, his, we all can, she's completely naked. He was hurrying up, trying to like pull up his pants. I run out of there. I go up to my room. He follows, and he's like, we weren't doing anything. I was like, that's my mom. Like, what the fuck are you doing? What are you doing? And I like felt him, and he had a hard on. I was like, your dick's hard. What? And then I stayed in my room for a while. He left. I went downstairs to my mother's room. Was like, she was in there folding laundry, and she's like, why would you think I'd do that? Why would you think I would do something like that? You really think I'd do something like that? And like gaslighting me, even though I know what I saw. Today I started to like think like, oh, I am losing it. Like, oh, these things aren't real. I'm not seeing those things. But like, it's so fucked. It's so fucked up. It's so hard. Like, I don't think anyone, unless you've gone through that, like, understand what it's like, especially me being freaking 14 years old. My dad was in active duty my whole life. I barely knew my dad because she withheld my dad from me. I wasn't able to go see my dad. She painted him to be such a bad person, and she literally had so much control over my life, to the point where still to this day I have to ask my husband, can I go take a bath? I don't just tell him I'm gonna go do things. Like, I have to ask permission, and it's such a hard thing to break. Anyways, that's that story time. There's a whole much more that I could go into, but I'm just not there yet because myself, I feel disgusting about it. So I feel, ashamed. We'll save that for another day. Anyways, we gotta get going. So.
went on one date with a guy, and not even 24 hours later, he was trying to control every little bit of my life. So I went on a date on Friday night. It was a guy that I'd never met before. We met through a mutual friend. He was very sweet on the date. He like paid for my meals, opened my car door, like the whole thing. I didn't really get any red flags. Like, he was so fun the entire time, and I'm not gonna lie, I did make out with him in his car by the end of the night. And then when I got home, he FaceTimed me for 2 hours. Like, we were like having a good old time. But come Saturday, he starts to notice that like when I say it's active on Snapchat, like I wasn't responding to him. Loses his mind. He gets so mad, and he's like, you have to respond to me when it says you're active. Like, it's not okay. Like, why are you active and not responding? I literally met you 24 hours ago. Calm it down. That was the first time in my head I was like, what is going on? Then I had 2 birthday parties to go to later that day. I told him, I was like, hey, like I'm going to 2 parties later today. Again, he starts losing his mind. He's like, you're such a partier, you're a drinker, like are there guys there, you're gonna cheat on me? We're not even dating, so even if I was talking to other guys, it's none of your business and it shouldn't matter. So in my head I'm like, this is crazy. What is this conversation? Then the dress that I wore to one of the birthday parties, and then the outfit that I wore to this like Halloween party thing, he told me that it was like inappropriate, I shouldn't wear it out, like basically just trying to get other guys' attention by wearing the dress that I was wearing. My outfits were not even bad, and also you just don't have the right to tell me what I can and can't wear. While I'm at this birthday party, which mind you is for one of my best friends, he's texting me the entire time, will literally be like, I can see that you're active, like respond to me. And then he asked me to send a video of who was at the party. Who do you think you are? And I told him that I like wasn't gonna do that because like literally what? And he got so mad. Like mad to the point where he just like started ignoring me, like all this stuff. So I called him later that night, and he was like acting like a little baby about it. Like actually like a baby. Like he was like whining about the whole thing. Come Sunday, which was yesterday, he like loses his mind because I'm in the gym, and I went on Snapchat literally just to like see how I looked or something, and he saw that I was active, and again like lost it, and he's like, you're not responding. And he's like, if I'm making an effort to respond while I'm at work, you can make an effort to respond when you're at the gym. And we were talking about like Halloween and homecoming and stuff, and I told him that obviously I was going to a homecoming after party, and then I'm gonna go out on Halloween. And he was like, oh my gosh, you're such a partier, like you're gonna go hook up with guys. You don't know anything about me nor about my lifestyle, so like how can you even say that? And then he told me he doesn't want me having any guy friends if we were dating because like that's not okay. He's allowed to have girlfriends, but I can't have any guy friends. So then last night we were on FaceTime, and I told him like, hey, I'm gonna hang up the call now, like I'm gonna go get in bed, and I like to read my book before I go to bed. This man seriously looked at me and was like, don't hang up this call. No, like I'm gonna hang up the call, like I'm going to bed. He was like, you're not going to bed, like do not hang up this call, don't you dare hang up this call. I was like, I had also on that FaceTime call showed him my outfit that I was gonna wear to school tomorrow. He took one look at it and was like, you're just dressing up for other guys, you just want male attention with that outfit, you're asking for it. And like went on this entire rant about how I'm just asking for male attention with the outfit that I was wearing, planning to wear. You have literally zero right to comment on my clothes. I also told him that it was my dream to live in New York City, and he looked me dead in the face and was like, we're not living in New York City. Who said anything about we? He's like, Ella, if we're still together like in a few years, like we're not living in New York City, I hope you know that. We went on one date and we're not dating. Only with that attitude, we're not gonna be together in a few years. So obviously after he told me to not hang up that phone call, I did anyways. Respect my time, hello. And he literally got so pissed at me and started like spam texting me, and he's like, I can't believe you did this, like I'm ignoring you for weeks. And I was like, good, I'm planning on dropping you anyways, like I don't care. So then I basically just went on this whole rant and I was like, oh, by the way, if you're gonna say that, then also you can't tell me what I can't wear, you can't tell me who I can't be friends with. Started saying he was like joking and all this stuff, and he's like, oh my god, like stop, like come back, I was kidding. Well, it's actually not a joke to me. And then I told him to basically think long and hard about that because I was going to bed. He proceeded to spam call me like literally 20 times on FaceTime, 20 times on Snapchat video, spam texted me, spam called me. I still haven't responded. The plan is just to give him like a little paragraph on basically everything that he's doing wrong, everything that he should consider when going into another relationship in the future. So if you're wondering how my date on Friday night went, there you go. Love you guys, bye.
I convinced myself that if I lost enough weight, it would fix my marriage. If I was thin enough, he would think I was pretty, and it would fix the marriage. I'm down 56 pounds. It did not fix the marriage. I was a Delulu. And for anyone who's following along on this series of disastrous marriage, we talked. He admitted he doesn't love me, and he's too tired to put in the effort to try to love me. So that leaves me with 2 options, one of which is the only option any self-respecting human would choose. So basically, we're going on this trip to Maui for the family vacation. And he has until we get back to see if he wants to put in any effort. And we'll see. I doubt it. And we know what happens after that. I'm not a total idiot, despite what most of the comments said in the first video. So, and you know it's getting looped back around. I am selfish for leaving because I'm breaking up the family, not because he doesn't want to take a day off. My stipulations were 1, take 1 day off a week and spend it with me and our daughter, and go to church. And then the other stipulation was to have more transparency and talk. The other one was to go to counseling. And then, what was the last one? Oh, try. You have to try to love me again. And he basically said no. So, I mean, I don't think it's me being selfish for leaving. I think that's me being backed into a corner and there's literally no other option. So I don't see myself as, I'm not the one who broke up this marriage. He's deciding that he doesn't care that much to try. So that's it. I don't think he believes me. So when I file, I think it will be a wake-up call, and by then it'll probably be too late. But those of you, specifically one who commented that I hope I have the most miserable marriage and that I deserve it. Yeah, you're basically right, but I'm hoping to change that. So, thanks, bye. Side note, when we come back from Hawaii, if he does decide he wants to try, there is a 3-day seminar for marriages in the local area that I was told about that basically I would want to do. And he would have to take off 3 days of work, which would be like $1,500. Plus the seminar is like $3,000. So if he's going to dedicate that much time and effort to saving what we have, then yes, I believe possibly we could make it through. But if not, again, I don't see another way out. Then there was one more thing I wanted to say, but I forgot.
For the 5 people who follow me, get ready with me for bed. Okay, so this week has been kind of rough for me. I'm just trying to like get my life together and figure out what I want to do. I'm in college, I'm a freshman in college, but I don't know, I kind of have some like regrets about my life. So I've been playing basketball since I was really little, or I did play basketball since I was really little. I was always like traveling on select teams, like going to camps, and like I had like intentions to play in college. But by the time I got to my freshman year, I just like lost my confidence, like coaches and just like my own like mental state. I just like really hated basketball because I like hated myself. And so I just like would dread practice all the time, and it got really worse whenever I started dating my ex-boyfriend, because he really made me like lose confidence in myself. He would like tell me that like I'm not good and I'm not good enough and I should just quit and follow him in college. So it really took a toll on my mental health and how I felt about basketball. And I really just wanted to be around him because I felt like he was gonna leave me. So yeah, I started hating travel, like AAU travel, because I'd be away from him for so long and I would feel like he's cheating on me. And so like I pretty much told my dad that like I wanted to quit, and he thought it was like because of my mental health and I just didn't want to play in college, which wasn't really the case. So yeah, then I stopped playing my junior year, which is whenever I would get recruited. So yeah, I just killed my like recruiting journey, I guess. And honestly, like after that I had no regrets because I was still like thought that that was the best thing for me and like I was happy with that. But now I'm in college and I'm not dating that guy anymore, and let's just say that I think I made the biggest mistake of my life. I think about basketball every day. I think about playing. I watch other teams play. I can't get enough of it. And it's not enough for me just to go to the rec and play. Like, I want to be on a team. And I want to, like, be good at something again. And, like, I still am. Like, I can still shoot the ball really well. So, that's my life. I feel like I gave up on a dream that I had since I was really little. And now I regret it. So, you know, I feel like I'd be doing myself a disservice to not try and play again. So I don't know if I should walk on at the school I'm already at or try to play somewhere.
So I am 47, chubby, married, wrinkles, gray hair, and for the last year and a half I have been posting spicy content, but not, to get paid for it, just for fun, because my husband suggested it. I have low self-esteem, and I always have, and it got really bad after I gained a lot of weight from pregnancy and then just kept it on. I couldn't get it off due to certain things. I have PCOS, endometriosis, which all messes with your metabolism, and some women don't gain weight, or they're able to manage it, and others just can't. So anyways, I had weight loss surgery and I lost 100 pounds, but it did not help with my confidence. So my husband suggested I get online and post spicy content. So that's what I've been doing, and I have met a lot of interesting people. I've talked to a lot of interesting people, and the number of guys under the age of 30 that hit on me is astounding. Like, I just didn't know it was a thing, and they're just so cute and adorable, and some of them are wildly out of my league, but I've made some good friends, and me and my husband talk about it. He knows about it. We talk about all the different kinks that I have discovered, just all kinds of stuff, and I think it's kind of helped us a little bit to be more open with each other, and I love it. I just think it's so much fun. I guess I don't know, a cougar, which is weird for me. It's weird to say that, but hey, I'm having fun. My husband enjoys it, and I love all of my new friends that I've made. So I'm just trying to live my best life, and I really don't care who knows at this point. I did try to hide it for a little while, but I don't care. I am tired of pretending to be someone that I'm not. I'm having fun. I'm not hurting anyone. Everybody's well aware that I'm married, and it's online flirting, so who cares? Everybody should just do them and be happy, and that's what it's doing. It's helping me, it's entertaining me, it's entertaining them. They enjoy it, so everybody's happy.
Story time when my elementary school teacher put me in a special ed classroom without telling my mom, just because she did not want to fucking deal with me. So this teacher's name is, the movie with the mouse that gets adopted, S Little. Her name is the S. So first of all, fuck her. Second of all, so this is a time where I really saw that she favored me. Now that I'm older, and I think about it, so I had fell or something, and this little boy next to me, we had both fallen or something like that, and the little boy was crying. Okay, preface this, I was very abused in elementary school. I was very emotional. I was not bad, because I was abused where I didn't really do anything. I was scared. I was terrified of my dad, so I was not a bad kid. I would talk a lot, and I would cry all the time. But the thing is, I would be crying when it was time to go home. Not oh, I'm getting in trouble, so I'm crying. No, I was crying because I had to go back home. As a teacher, if a student is crying because they have to go home, let's use our fucking brain here. Obviously, something's going on at the home. So this teacher, the boy was crying, right? And I was crying, and we were crying about the exact same thing. And she goes and she comforts the little boy, and someone in the class was like, what about Brianna? And she's like, Brianna cries all the time, so just let her be. She's always crying. And it's as a 7-year-old, you're watching someone get comforted for the same thing that happened to you. Why the fuck are you saying that? Why are you a grown-ass adult fucking being mean to a little ass kid. A little ass fucking kid. So that's like one example, but I feel like that's a really good example of how she was just mean to me, like just mean. And so she didn't want to deal with me, so what she did was, mind you, when I was in 3rd grade, I tested for like 4th to 5th grade reading level. So girl, I was not stupid. I've always like I have an eye processing disorder, so I have a hard time understanding what I read, but I've always known how to read. That's one thing, I always know how to read. And I remember when I was little, another thing was like I was super polite because I would get in trouble if I wasn't polite. So she didn't want to deal with me, so she put me in a special needs classroom. I was the only one, so I was in a special needs classroom for half the day, and then after that she would put me in, you know, the classes where you don't know English. Mind you, yeah, I knew Spanish when I was little, you know, like a Mexican, whatever, but I spoke English. English was like the only language I spoke. Like there was no reason to put me in an English learning class. And mind you, this whole time she did not tell my mom, my dad, my grandma, nothing. No one knew I was in these classes, and I didn't think like, hey, I should tell my mom how my teacher's mean to me, and then has me go to a special ed classroom. And I remember at the time I didn't know it was a special ed because my cousin, she has autism, and she was in the classroom. And I remember like I used to get excited because I was like, oh, I'm gonna go hang out with my cousin, like I get special privileges. No, those bitches didn't want me in her fucking class. And she had me in there for literally like, I think I was only in her class for like half the day most of the time because how much I was in the other classrooms that she would put me in. And this whole time my mom never knew, which is not allowed. You can't just switch like a little girl's schedule and not tell their parents. Like, you get what I'm saying? So mind you, my mom only found out that I was in these classes because my 3rd grade teacher was like, I don't know why the fuck that teacher put your daughter in special needs classes, and so many of them at that point. That's not normal. I was the only one doing that. And I remember my mom was like, wait, what? Like why was my daughter in these classes? And I don't remember a lot of the time she was mean to me, but my mom was telling me like, no, like she was mean as fuck too. Like the reasons why she would call my mom to get me in trouble were like such bullshit reasons. Like she was just a mean ass teacher to me. And the thing is, she was so nice to all the other students, and I remember feeling like so sad, like why is my teacher so mean to me? And then on top of that, I'm getting abused at home, and then on top of that, I'm getting bullied at school. So it was just like so many fucking things. And she really like, even though it's like such a small like event, I feel like, but it really played a part in like my life. Like I'm going to school to escape my abusive home, and then I'm getting bullied at school, and then when I'm going to class to tell the bully, because so these boys had like kicked me in my private spot, right? And I told her, and she got me in trouble for it. She was like, well, why are you hanging around boys? That's oh my god, I literally completely forgot about that. But I remember for that, she sent me to the principal office, and I got in trouble. So that's like a very, I feel like, important part. But yeah, that's how my teacher in elementary school was so fucking mean to me. She was, and honestly, in my opinion, even though she was just bad to me, like, you're a shitty ass person. Like, you're a bad fucking person. Why were you so mean to a little ass girl? Okay, anyways, that's the end of my Get Ready With Me. Bye.
Hello, I realized that I have not properly introduced myself. So, my name is Marilyn. I'm 20 years old. I graduated college with an associate's in radiologic technology, and I work as an x-ray tech. I'm gonna kind of give a sum up of my testimony. I apologize if this is long. I grew up Catholic. We went to church every Sunday, went to Catholic church. However, as I grew up, my dad didn't fully agree with some of the things that they believed in, and he told me that if I ever had any questions, I could go and ask him. So as I got older, I got curious, I started asking questions. Around COVID though, we stepped away from the Catholic faith because of everything that was happening with COVID, and the church that I specifically was going to had changed the 10 Commandments, and they were trying to change the Our Father, and we just didn't fully align with the things that they had believed in anymore. So we had left. In the summer of 2022, I had a very hard summer. I felt bored all the time. I felt meaningless. I literally felt as if I was nothing. I felt nothing. And I wasn't sad all the time. I just felt, every day felt like a month almost. And I was bored out of my mind. And one day on my way home from my friend's birthday party, I just broke down in my car on my way home crying. And like, I was asking God, like, Lord, like, I know that you love me, and I know that my parents love me, my friends love me, but I just don't feel it. I don't feel that love at all. And after I had ranted for a good while, I randomly decided to turn on the radio. Now, preface, I have an aux cord, and I have always used my aux cord, and I like to choose the music that I play and listen to certain music, but I just felt this urge to turn on the radio. And when I turned on the radio, the song Beloved by Jordan Fels, I think, or I don't really know how to say his last name, but that song was playing, basically saying that you are beloved by God. And I just felt overwhelming love and just comfort like flow into me, and I truly believe that was the Holy Spirit, and that was the day that I truly gave my life to Christ. In, I think it was 2023, on Halloween, I got baptized by some friends. I started going to a Christian group on campus, and we had service and all that, and I truly started like living for the Lord. However, end of last year and beginning of this year, I was in a very unequally yoked relationship. This was not my first relationship, but I was very clear that oh my gosh, I was very clear before we even started dating that I wanted to wait until marriage, and that was something that was very important to me. And as we were dating, at first he respected my boundaries, but as months went by, like, he started slowly trying to break down my boundaries, and eventually we fell into sexual sin. Oh, this is so weird. And he eventually did a lot of things that I didn't like. It was not, like I said, it was a very unequally yoked relationship. I could feel that like I was drawing away from the Lord, and he eventually did something very bad, and I left, and that was earlier this year in May. And since then, I have been celibate. I'm rewaiting until marriage. I have given myself fully to the Lord, and I'm a lot more prepared for my future, in the way of I know what I want in a partner, and I'm a lot more strict about it now than I was. I struggle a lot with patience, and that's something that I'm struggling with right now, is waiting for my future husband, but I know that the wait will be worth it. But yeah, that's kind of a sum up. I apologize that this was so long, but if y'all would ever want me to go into more depth of what of certain parts of my testimony, I will definitely consider it. But it was nice meeting all of y'all, and I pray that y'all have a blessed day. Bye.
Put a finger down if one weekend you have no plans, so you decide you're going to go to this mall by your new place that you've never been to and have a little treat yourself day. And so you get to the mall and it's huge, and you're walking around, you see the store that you want to go to, so you start walking towards the store and you realize that there's a crowd of people standing outside of the store, and they're all huddled around and kind of looking up at the ceiling and watching what you think is a bird flying back and forth, and you're not fazed because you used to work at Home Depot and they used to fly into the store all the time and build their little nest in the rafters, but they were completely harmless. So you keep walking through the crowd to the store that you want to go to, and then you make direct eye contact with this thing because it starts flying literally straight at you, and you realize in that moment that it's actually not a bird and that it's a bat. And it's also 1 p.m. in the afternoon, and so the bat is probably rabid, and it doesn't look like it's flying anywhere else except straight at you. So you obviously start freaking out a little bit, you flail your arms, you scream, and then you don't see the bat anymore. And now you're feeling embarrassed because there's a crowd of probably 20 people around, and they're all staring at you because you just made a scene. And so you do one of these. I'm so sorry, guys, that was so crazy. But what are you gonna do? You have to move on with your day. So you continue walking into the store that you want to go to, and that's when you make eye contact with one of the guys that's in the crowd through the glass of the store that you're now in, and he goes like this, "It's on your back." And you say, "The bat?" And he says, "Yeah, the bat is on your back." And it's also the middle of summer, so you're wearing just like a thin tank top, and this bat, you realize, must be attached to the tank top because you don't feel it on your back at all. And so naturally, once you realize that this bat is attached to your back, you throw the purse that you're carrying across the store that you're in. You step out of the Boston clogs that you're in, so now you're barefoot. You sprint out of the store back into the middle of the crowd of people. And if you thought that I was making a scene before, you should have seen the scene that I just caused then, because not only was I screaming, but I was also cursing and actively trying to hit this bat off of my back. And there are poor mothers with their children around, covering up their children, like shielding them away from me. And obviously nobody's helping me because it's probably rabid and nobody wants to touch the bat. And so finally you hit it with the back of your hand and you feel it, and then you look down and now there's a bat on the floor, and now you're really embarrassed, and everyone is like, "Oh my gosh, like what just happened?" And you are apologizing again, and the guy that had helped you in the first place was like, "You don't need to apologize, like that was crazy." And then this kind woman comes up to you and she looks at you, and you're literally shaking and also still barefoot, and she says, "Honey, you need to go to the hospital." And you say, "Right, because I probably have rabies now." And so obviously you start instantly sobbing, and you sprint to the nearest bathroom and you start vigorously washing your hands because you just touched the bat with your bare hand, and you're sobbing, and there's a poor woman washing her hands next to you and she says nothing. And then you leave the bathroom, and the kind lady is talking to a security guard, and she points at you and says, "There she is." And you walk over to the security guard, still sobbing, and he says, "I'm going to take your name and number. I'm not really sure the protocol in this situation, but I'll call you." And you say, "I don't blame you. I wouldn't expect you to know what to do right now." And then the lady says, "I think the bat is like still alive." And you're thinking, like, do you want me to finish it off? Anyways, while you're sobbing and uncontrollably shaking because of what just happened, the woman says, "Are you going to be able to drive to the hospital?" And you say, "Yeah, like I think I'll be fine. I just need to like breathe and calm down a little bit." And the security guard goes, "Do you want me to call you an ambulance?" And you say, "No, I cannot afford that." So then you get in your car and you drive to the hospital, and you're calling your parents in between this, and you're on Google, and your parents are on Google looking up coming in contact with a rabid bat, and Google is saying that sometimes you won't even know if they bite you because their teeth are so small you won't even feel it. And they're also saying that if you can, you should collect the bat and take it to the Department of Health to get tested for rabies, because if it comes back negative, you won't need to continue the rabies vaccination. And so the security calls you back from the mall and asks if you're okay, and you say, "Yeah, I'm just going to the hospital right now. By the way, like I'm reading all this stuff online that says that you should collect the bat and take it to the Department of Health to get it tested if you can." And they say, "Absolutely, we're going to do that, and whoever comes and picks it up will give them your contact information so that they can call you." And so you go into the hospital, and all of the doctors are absolutely shocked by the story that you tell them. But the doctor looks on your back, and he doesn't see any bite marks or anything, and you're like, "Well, you know, you're reading online and it says sometimes you can't even see the bite marks, but whatever, they're the professionals." And so he asks if they're getting the bat tested, and you say, "Yeah, they told me they are." And he says, "Okay, I'm not going to have you get the rabies vaccination right now because it's not protocol unless you were bit or unless we know that the bat was positive for rabies. So if they call you back and tell you that it is, then you should probably come back in and get the shots." And you say, "Okay." You're a little bit freaked out because everything that you're reading online is telling you that you need to get the vaccination immediately. So then you leave and you call the security back and you say, "Hey, it's been like 2 hours. Did somebody from the Department of Health come and pick up the bat?" And they say, "Oh, we threw it away." And you say, "You threw the bat away?" And they said, "Yeah, my supervisor wanted us to get it out of the mall as quickly as we can, so we just like threw it away across the street." And you're thinking, I'm pretty sure that's illegal. if the bat was rabid, okay? But anyways, the bat's not getting tested for rabies anymore. So then you call the doctor back, and this is seriously what he sounds like on the phone. Oh, I don't know, like, I'm not sure, like, if you weren't bit, like, you wouldn't need it, but if they're not getting it tested, like, I don't really know. So now you're really freaking out because nobody is telling you what to do, and you're afraid that you're going to die from rabies. And he says that you should call the Department of Health and see what they say. And it's a weekend, so you're calling them, they're not answering, you're calling their 24/7 line, nobody's answering. And so you call the doctor back and you say, I can't get a hold of anybody from the Department of Health. By the way, it's probably 10 p.m. at this point. And he says, I'm kind of thinking you should just start the rabies vaccination series. And you say, thank you. Like, is there any side effects or anything? People keep walking past me and I keep getting embarrassed. But anyways, you say, is there any side effects to this rabies vaccination shot as to like why you're so hesitant to give it to me? He says no. And so you're like, yeah, I'm going to come back in and get that then. And you go back in, and I'm going to have to make a part 2.
I'm extremely confused. You're confused. I'm fucking confused, bro.
Gather around while I tell you about the worst first date I've ever been on. So I matched with this guy on Bumble. He asked me out pretty quickly, which normally I like to talk for a few days just to make sure we're compatible first, but I was going through a really bad breakup and just kind of looking for a distraction, so I said okay. He had initially proposed a pretty fancy restaurant, and I said yeah, but then the day of, he texted and he was like, hey, Dave & Buster's just opened, would you rather go there instead? And I was like, absolutely. So we had planned to meet there at 6, but then at 5:30 he texted me and he was like, hey, I'm probably not going to be there until about 6:15 because I'm late getting off work. I was like, totally fine. So I'm walking out the door at 5:50 to get to the restaurant at 6:15. And he texts me as I'm walking out the door, and he's like, oh, I got off work on time after all. I can still be there at 6. And I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to be there until 6:15. He's like, why? I was like, well, I left later because you told me you were going to get there later. And he's like, well, what am I supposed to do for 15 minutes by myself at the restaurant? And I was like, I don't know. I told him I was going to get there at 6:15 because that's what he had changed it to. So he calls me at 6:10 and he's like, am I getting stood up? And I was like, no, I said I'd be there at 6:15. Like, I'm 5 minutes away. He's like, oh, I'll go inside and get a table. And I was like, okay, should have just gone home. Lesson learned. So he goes inside to get a table. So I get inside. He's already at the table. He has a beer in front of him and he says he's ordered 2 appetizers for us, mini quesadillas and pretzels with cheese dip. He's like, is that okay? And I was like, yeah, that sounds great. He has his beer and he's like, did you want anything to drink? So I start looking over the menu and he's like, loudly, he's like, did you notice that there's no prices on this menu? I had to ask the waitress the price of every single drink on this menu and it's so expensive, you might as well just go pregame somewhere else because like this is crazy. But like, did you want a drink? And I was like, nope, just water's fine. So the appetizers come, the 2 that he picked out before I even got there. And I'm not super hungry, I'm just kind of nibbling on them. He eats most of them, and then he's like, I'm so hungry, do you care if I get an entree? And I'm like, no, of course not. And he's like, well, you should pick one for me. And I was like, okay, that's kind of cute, like, I guess. So I start looking at the menu, and he's like, it has to be really low in calories because I have a 1,200 calorie per day limit that I have to stay under. And I'm like, you picked Dave & Buster's, you picked the appetizers, what? So I'm like, okay, you should get the sliders. And the waitress comes over and she's like, did you want anything else? And he's like, yeah, I'm gonna get the sliders and I'm gonna get a second beer because it's happy hour. She's like, okay. She walks off and she comes right back and she goes, oh, happy hour is actually over, but I can still get you that beer for full price if you want. And he holds up his phone and it says 6:59 and he's like, happy hour is not over. I want the happy hour price. She's like, well, our computer says it's 7:01 and that's what we have to go off of, but did you still want that beer for full price? And he's like, no, I want you to go talk to your manager. And she's like, okay. So she leaves. I'm mortified. He's already asked her the price of every single drink and now he's doing this, but like, okay. So she comes back over and she's like, okay, I talked to the manager and he's going to go ahead and give you that happy hour price. So it'll be $1 off your beer for happy hour. And he's like, okay. And I was like, $1? It's $1 off for happy hour. And this is how you're acting. Like, it's never okay to act like this, but for $1? So while we're waiting for his sliders, we're chatting and he's like, so what do you like? What do you like to do? And I was like, I like to travel. And he's like, oh, like, where are you? Do you have a trip planned? And I was like, yeah, I'm going to go to Vegas in a couple weeks. And he's like, oh, like with family? And I was like, no, just by myself. And he goes, by yourself? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, that seems kind of pathetic. And I was like, no, I really like traveling by myself, actually. And he's like, well, where else have you gone by yourself? And I was like, well, I went to Disney World. And he's like, you went to Disney as an adult? And was like flabbergasted. So I was like, okay, so what do you like to do? And he's like, well, I like to travel. And I was like, okay, to where? And he tells me the name of a lake that's like an hour away, and then gets out his phone and proceeds to show me at least, like, no joke, several hundred photos of this lake. It was just like the same picture of the lake over and over and over, and like the same picture of a fish over and over and over, like for like 15 or 20 minutes. I was like, So then he's like, does your family live here? And I'm like, yeah, my whole family's here. And he's like, yeah, me too. That's why I get paid so much more than people my age, because it pays to have a dad who owns his own company. Like, that's why I make so much money. And I was like, okay. He goes, do you have any nieces or nephews? I was like, yeah, I have 3 nephews. And he goes, how many siblings do you have? And I said, I have 1 sister. He goes, oh, so obviously she's married. And I was like, nope, she's a single mom. And he goes, 3 kids and she's a single mom. And I was like, yep, that's how life works out sometimes, I guess. And he goes, well, what does she look like? So at this point, the waitress comes over and she's got the check and she's like, did you want to buy a game card? And he's like, yeah, because it's half price game night, right? And she's like, yes, but the cards still cost the same. The games just cost half the amount. So like, you're still paying $20 for a $20 game card, but games that cost like 10 tokens will now cost 5 or whatever. And he's like, but I thought it was half price. And so she explains again, and I'm just like, oh God. So he was like, did you want to play games? And I did not know what to say. And so I was like, sure, hoping I could just like get us out of there. So I got the cheapest option, and my plan was to go to the most expensive games and just like run us out as quick as I could and dip. So one of my go-to games that costs a lot of tokens or whatever is Deal or No Deal. So I head over to Deal or No Deal and I start playing, and he's just like making these little comments the whole time I'm playing, and I ended up, whatever I ended up with, he was like, oh, that's a shame you only got that amount. And I was like, okay. And he's like, well, let me show you how it's done. And I was like, it's a game of luck, but all right. So he picks a case, and the first case he picks, it's the $500,000 case. And he's like, yes. And I'm like, interesting reaction, but okay. And like, as the game is going, like the higher number he picks, the more excited, like he just keeps getting more and more excited. And so finally I'm like, you only have like the $1, the $2, and the $1 million case left. Like, why are you so excited about this? He's like, well, because the way that you play the game is by finding the $1 million case. And I was like, nope, that's not the point. That's not how you play the game. And he's like, yeah, I think I know what I'm doing. And I was like, okay. At any rate, I was able to run us out of tokens pretty quickly. Immediately was like, okay, I gotta go. No hug, no handshake, no nothing. I was just like, okay, thanks, have a good night, and left. That was like October, November, and I didn't hear from him again until February, when out of nowhere he texted me, and I deleted his number the day of the date, and he was like, hey, how's it going? And I was like, who is this? And he sends me a selfie, and he's like, it's so-and-so. I just wanted to catch up. How was Vegas? And I was just like, LOL, and blocked him. Okay, that was one of my worst first dates, but like, don't get mad at me when I show up at the time you changed it to. Get mad at me about the amount of calories in the food at the place you picked. Insult my sister, insult my hobbies, brag about how well off you are, and then mansplain Deal or No Deal to me really, really wrong. Like,
Hey, now. Slow down, all right?
Story time. So in 9th grade, I had my first boyfriend. We're gonna call him Mikey, and you know, I was in love. Like, you guys just couldn't even understand like how in love I was. I was telling my mom, I'm like, you could never even imagine. So, you know, we were together for 6 months. Apparently, the best 6 months of my life. But then, like, towards like the last 2 months we were together, he was acting really weird, and I noticed he would always be like, you should invite your friend Jen to come hang out with us. Oh, if we would be going to walk around the mall, because, you know, that's what we did in 9th grade. He'd be like, you should invite Jen. We're going to go watch a movie. You should invite Jen. And it was giving me that feeling where I was like, something is like off, but whatever. And then one time we were wrestling around in my front yard, and I had seen his phone, and he had like a pet name for someone that he was texting, and I was like, who is this? And he was like, oh, it's my sister. And I'm like, why do you have a pet name for her in your phone though? And he was like, I have a pet name for everyone in my phone, like literally everyone. And I'm like, And he was like, you're like totally overthinking this. And I'm like, you're right, I am overthinking this. What? Duh. Well, then one day he did not come to class, but he texted me and he was like, hey, when school's over, walk to my house. We need to talk. It's important. I already knew what it was. I was like, so clearly he cheated. I get there and he opens his front door and he's like bawling, like snot down his face, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, pathetic. He was like, come in, we need to talk, I did something terrible. He wants to sit there, tell me he's been cheating. I whipped his phone at his face because it was sitting next to me. I whipped his phone at his face, started throwing things at him. Obviously, I was like, we're through, we're done, and I left. I go to school the next day. The whole school is talking about me. And I'm like, really? Everyone's been cheated on. Like, I don't understand why I'm the topic of the whole school. And my friend, she was like, hey, I just want to check on you. I'm kind of surprised you're here today. And I'm like, why? And she was like, well, because of everything that happened, you know, with you and Mikey. And I'm like, yeah, I don't understand why the whole school's talking about me, though, because, like, it's literally happened to everyone. And she was like, I think it's just, like, what happened, though, you know? And I'm like, no, I don't. What? And she's like, that he cheated on you with your friend, Jen. And I'm like, he cheated with Jen? And she was like, you didn't know? And I'm like, no. And then I was like, I'm going to fight her. I'm going to fight her. And she was like, well, I don't think you can because she's pregnant. Huh? Get this. Me in 9th grade was heartbroken. I was like, she gets to have a baby with him. That was supposed to be me. I felt so sorry for that girl. Like, years later, I was like, damn, that's really sad. That's unfortunate. I mean, they had a really cute baby, and she seems really happy with someone else now, but what a good first experience to have for my very first boyfriend. I mean, come on.